Welcome everybody. Today's video finds us over here in Nakhon Ratchasima Province. And what we're going to take a look at is we're going to take a look at Prasat Hin Phanom Wan, which means the stone castle of Phanom Wan. Anyway, this is kind of a cool site. It's been restored pretty extensively, and it's just outside of the city itself, about 15, 16 kilometers or so. But it's quite cool. There is an admission fee here for foreigners, so we'll pay that whenever we go. But we're going to take a look at two things. We're going to take a look at the old Khmer pavilion that was like the changing area for like the royals, and then we'll walk over and we'll look at the main site itself. It's kind of soggy. We've been getting just dumped on with rain, so we'll do our best to avoid as much mud as we can. Anyway, this is like an 11th century Khmer temple. It might have been built on an earlier ruin that was probably from like the 7th, 8th century or so. Most of the like the remodeling and everything was done under the reign of King Jayavarman VII in the 13th century. So let's see what we see today. And this is the area. Now there's a modern Buddhist temple right in the middle. There's a beret that's off over this way also. Here's the changing pavilion, and then the beret is over here. And it's quite large. Yeah, this is the first part of the ruins that we'll see. Now they would have came in, there would have been like a walkway over here, and then the beret is straight on the other side of those palm trees at that corner of the road. You can see how much rain we've gotten. It is just a soggy mess out here today. So they haven't done much here. They've just done a little bit of excavations, but they haven't done much at all. So it's pretty much in a primitive condition. But you can see the laterite stones that were carved here around the base. Yeah, this is really, really cool. The laterite stones were pretty easy for them to sculpt. They could quarry them pretty easy and then shape them as needed. And so they would have had some stairs right here, and you would have walked up, and this would have been like a rectangular room here. And you can see that all of those were carved also over there. And then there's just a little bit stacked up on the second level here. And they would have had, all of these would have been shaped and used for all the needs of the structure. Now they're just kind of laying around over here. And then we can see some of the pieces over here that they have stacked up, and a little piece of the sandstone. So they're calling this the known Angkor-era ancient site. So it was where the king rested and prepared to make homage to the main temple. And then there's all the extra stones over there. Okay, so let's go over to Phanom Wan now. All right, now here is the main sanctuary. There's all kinds of rubble over here from the restorations, and then we'll pay over here. There is a bathroom, so if you need to use that while you're here, it's right here next to it. Okay, so you can see right there, Thais are 10 baht and foreigners are 80 baht. And then you just pay right here. And then, yeah, I like to walk out through here and look at the old boneyard, but it's kind of under water here. Yeah, you can see some of the old stone carvings out there. So in the 9th century, there were 8 different buildings that were built here. And the sign back there says it dates back to 500 BC, so there might have been some ancient sites here below. Yeah, this is a great little temple. It's not as famous as like Pi Mai and Phnom Rung, but it's still worth your time to come over here and check it out. Yeah, this is what I like to see. These are the old pieces that are broken and they can't use anymore, but you can still see the stone carvings in them. You can see the base of one of the like pediments for the deity. And then that might have been like a window seal right there. Same over here, those little round columns. Yeah, this is a round column here that they had up in the window, and then it would have been notched to go down into the window sill, and they're just all broken. There's a mix of sandstone and laterite. Most of the stuff is sandstone, so they would have quarried that nearby. And then you see some more of the pieces here. This is some laterite with the sandstone mixed in, and then some more of the stone carvings on this piece right here. You could just see the images that are still there. Oh, I really like that. So they've had to reconstruct all these pieces to put back into the temple after they did the restoration of it. This was abandoned like everything was here after the Khmer pulled back from this region. All of these just started falling apart. And people would come over and take stones and do all of that stuff. Yeah, so we'll walk around out here. There's some other buildings that were put out here probably during the Ayutthaya era. And then we'll go into the central sanctuary. This originally was a Hindu temple. I think it was dedicated to Shiva. And then in the 13th century under Jayavarman VII, it was converted into Buddhism. And you can see the number of stones that are out here. It's pretty amazing how many of these they carved, they chiseled, they quarried them, and they brought them in here and built this whole sanctuary. I think the sanctuary is 50 meters by 50 meters. Oh, we got the pediment over here. We'll take a look at it. And this looks like one of the pediments. So you see where they've notched it for other stones to go in there, but it looks like it's uncarved, same as those over there. And then you can see they've numbered them all. When they took them apart, they have to try to figure out the jigsaw puzzle to put it back together. And then there's a couple columns over here, and then this is the brick building that was probably built during the Ayutthaya era. Yeah, so we can see some sandstone doorways here, and then some more sandstone pieces over here. And then this is the brick base of a temple, and it's underwater right now. like I said, we've gotten just so much rain, and areas like around Ayutthaya and stuff like that have been flooding. And I think I just saw in the news today that Ongtong, some of the flood levees have broken, so they're getting flooded up there also. And I've been looking for some interesting pieces here. So this would have been around the pediment, this piece. And then you have a few others, and then here's one of the pediments that's in fairly decent shape. And then some other stones out here. There's not any real cool carvings that you see. A lot of times in the boneyard, it'll be a nice piece, but it'll not be usable, so it'll still be sitting out here. But there's not really too many of these. I think probably the good ones have been moved over into like the Pimai Museum, or they tried to reuse them as much as possible. It looks like they had some stuff for Loy Katong over here for the temple. You can see all the new restoration. They used that white sandstone and some of the pink sandstone here. Yeah, I was here last probably two and a half years ago or so, and they had cranes and everything out here, and they were still doing tons of work. So it looks like this is as much as they're going to restore it here. So they put the brick in to keep these parts from collapsing down, and then you have a wooden staircase here right in front of the Gopura. So you can see these are the pediments, and they would have carved them and had all the figures in it. And then there would have been a lintel above the door that they've never replaced. And they haven't done any of the fine detail carvings. You can see the differences. So the old days, they would have carved all these columns like this, would have had all the details. And then the new restoration, they've just stuck the little cuboid pieces of sandstone to give it its kind of original shape, but not the same feel. Same as over here. You can see how weathered that sandstone is. And then the red sandstone there. And then you can see the new elements that they put in. And there would have been a lintel right across here that would have had originally some Hindu elements. And then here they've stuck a old piece with a new piece. Yeah, so this is the Gopura. So there would have been an image right here that people would have came and started their prayers and everything. And then you would have been able to walk around. This would have been covered. It would have had a corbelled arch over the top of it, which is quite cool. It's not like a true arch, but it's the arch that they used. Yeah, when I say not a true arch, it's not load-bearing all the way around. So this would have been a little lotus bud, and it would have had a lotus bud up on the very, very top. And then you can see here, there is a little bit of the lintel. I think that's Vishnu on the Erawan is what it kind of looks like. It's hard to see. And then inside of here is a Buddha image now. And then you can see how this would have had a column coming out of it. You can see where they've carved the stones. There would have been all kinds of stuff out here. This would have been larger than it is right now. And then we have a few brick elements that were added after this was constructed. Yeah, you can see this would have been a little shrine, and that's a pediment for a deity. And then it had the sandstone doorway with brick on the rest of it. And then all of that would have been covered. There would have been the Gopuras on the 4 cardinal directions. And then I'm not sure if that was a library there. Okay, let's stick our head in here and let's look at the little deity. Oh, this is really nice. So I'm just happy that the Fine Arts Department and the Thais have invested the money to restore these the best that they can. There were so many of these Khmer buildings that are just scattered all over. Okay, so you can see here, this is a corbelled arch, how it kind of goes up. So each piece does hold weight, but it's not equally distributed. And all of this has been completely restored here. And then you have some modern Buddha images. And then this is in the center of the sanctuary. So you can see here, they've used a lot of the old stones. These are those round columns. So they put this on a lathe somehow, and they would spin these, and they would put them in here. And then it's notched up in the top, so it goes into that window seal. And then it's notched on the bottom also. So they've incorporated as many of the old elements as possible. And then a really cool Buddha image here. You can see the little corbelled arch up there. Yeah, and there's most of those windows have the columns in them. All 4 of them are in it. Yeah, this is just the inner sanctuary here. There's a bunch of Khmer ruins in what you call the Isan region of Thailand. Oh, this is the center prong. It is huge. Yeah, they're scattered out all over the place. And a lot of them were built on the top of old Dawadi settlements, or they kind of intermixed. All right, so here we have some Khmer inscriptions. And they got it behind the little plexiglass. So if you can read the ancient Khmer, you could read that. And then there's more of it over here. Yeah, the Khmer were like the dominant power, so the Dawadi kind of adapted their customs and stuff like that. And King Jayavarman VII expanded the Khmer Empire all the way over to Kanchanaburi, which was the furthest west, and then up north of Sisachanalai. All right, so we got some more of the little floral carvings here, and then what's left of a lintel. Yeah, so you can see all the little detail, and you can see how much this is weathered off, and that sandstone's broke right there over the centuries. Yeah, I've seen how they do this. It's quite spectacular. A guy will sit there with a little chisel, and he'll just bang away and make all of those patterns. So this will be the best look we have here. So you can see some of the old pieces right there, how faded off they are, the new pieces, and then you see the lintel right there. It has that roku, I can't remember what they call it, in Khmer, but it's that monster that eats the moon. You see the new piece and the old piece put there. And then you see the Naga here. And then this is that pediment that's on the front. And it has like the lotus flowers, has the Naga, all of those. And you can see the new pieces mixed in with the old pieces. This would have been really cool. So I don't know if they're actually going to come back in and carve them. You can see where they've done like a first trace of it. Maybe in a couple years when they get the money to do some more restoration, they'll finish that off. And then another look at another side here. Oh, the beautiful little carvings. And the Vishnu up there. Oh, it's really something else. And it looks like they've stuck some wood in here to kind of keep a few of these smaller little buildings intact. Okay, so let's take a look in this little shrine. I thought it was a library at first, but it's not, because what's inside of here is really, really cool. So check this out. So they have a sandstone Buddha footprint in here. This is something, and this whole building is the sandstone. They've came and stuck some brick in there just to keep it from collapsing down, but originally it was this pink sandstone. Yeah, so you can see that the locals have stuck some gold leaf, and this would have had like a layer of plaster over the top. Oh, that's something else that's cool. Yeah, I've been to the oldest Buddha footprint in Thailand, but I didn't know this one was here, and I've been to this ruin many times. I just never noticed this in here, and it's right next to the main sanctuary. But we'll take one more look here. So when you come in from the east, you walk into that room right there, and then these are not the faux doors. Normally the Khmer had the three directions except for the east would be fake entrances, but these you can actually go in. And it does have the sandstone lotus bud up at the very top. And they would have hoisted that up. It's like many tons of stone. They would have hoisted it up there and put it right at the top. And they would have had those on the smaller little prongs also, like around the gopuras and everything. But they're in pretty bad shape. There's not a whole lot left of them. And then we would have had a Buddha image here. So this would have been added on after the conversion into Buddhism. Well, that's the whole temple. It's in a pretty good shape, but they've done a lot of restoration here. This place was in pretty much ruins, and they've came back in and spent a lot of money and time to restore what you can see. Well, that'll finish up a video over here at this 11th century-ish Khmer temple over here in Nakhon Ratchasima. This is a really, really cool site. I would definitely recommend, if you get a chance, come over here and take a look at it. It's a good warm-up to go over to Pimai or Phnom Rung or Mung Tam, the other major ruins that are kind of in this area. This is Prasat Hin Phanom Wan, which is the stone castle at Phanom Wan. And it's 80 baht for a foreigner to get in, 10 baht for a Thai, but it's well worth it. You can come over here and take a look at this Khmer style architecture. If you like the old history of the region, this is definitely something you should see. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and you get to see some more stuff like this. And if you know more about it than I do, let me know in a comment down below. And until next time, from over here in Kolat, remember, life is a journey. So until next time, enjoy.